not enough time in the world is there for me to express how I feel about this franchise. And there's not enough time to express how I feel about Raiders of the Lost Ark. Easily my favorite movie of all time. Time is the focus and the whole point of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. You know, that title, The Dial of Destiny, that rolls off the tongue.
I don't know, you're spitting on me.
Probably. You know, we had a finale. We had a finale with The Last Crusade as they ride off to the sunset. We had a finale with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull where Indy and Marion get married. Why? Why do we need a fifth one? You know, why do we need to have, what, a third finale? You know, people thought that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull wasn't necessary. I still love that movie. We can have that civil discussion in the comments. This feels like a finale. It doesn't tease a sequel, it doesn't tease a spin-off, it doesn't tease continuations. This is a stamp on that passport for Indiana Jones.
Isn't he like 100 anyways?
It doesn't matter about the age because it's the mileage. This is the first time that we've had an Indiana Jones movie not helmed by Steven Spielberg, even though he has given it his blessing. This is, in fact, handled by James Mangold. If that name sounds familiar, he has given us such fantastic and wonderful movies, such as Logan, 3:10 to Yuma, Ford versus Ferrari, and for the 6.5 people that were in that theater with me who saw it worldwide, Night and Day with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz.
Did I see that?
Probably not. He has a huge, wide, varied cinematography.
I was going to say, those are very
Yeah, he's all over the map.
Good for this guy.
But the one thing that he really, really excels at in all of his movies is characters. You know, he really gives the characters time to breathe and become their own people. And that is one of Dial of Destiny's biggest strengths, is that we get characters that feel fleshed out and lived in. And, you know, I mean, when you're 4 movies in, going on to a 5th one, and you're dealing with all of the backstory and everything like that, you gotta progress the character along. You know, it's not enough to kind of sit back on your laurels and say, hey, guys, you remember this moment? You remember this? Hey, look, he did the thing. Look, he did that, and he said that too. No, that's not enough, okay? We're not the Force Awakens. We can't keep doing that. So, we do move things along. Now, don't get me wrong. We're going to keep spoilers light and airy here because this is one of those movies where if you go in as blind as humanly possible like I did, you will have some wonderful moments that will make you just excited. They'll make you clap and cheer. They'll make you tear up and sob because this is a movie for the fans, by the fans. The opening of the movie, again, for the fans, by the fans, is that much talked about prequel set in World War II where we do have the visual effects of de-aging Harrison Ford. Now, that might be my only minor complaint about the movie, are just the visual effects on the de-aging. Some of them can be a smidge on the wonky wonk side, but for the most part, especially for as long as we have a young Harrison Ford, it looks pretty good. They did great. You know, according to the interviews and all, they took a bunch of scans and old footage and everything like that. I mean, it looks incredible. And they had Harrison Ford do the performance capture, and he's moving just like he did 20, 30 years ago. It's fantastic. They did a great job. They really did. It sets the tone well for the rest of the movie, which then kind of flips itself on its head a little bit. We get a cranky old Indiana Jones. But there's a point to it. You know, when you get about halfway through the movie, you get to the point of why he is the way that he is. Now, that I will not divulge in terms of spoilers because that would not be fair. But it does give you a pause. It gives everybody in that scene a pause where they're like, okay, well, see, now this makes sense. Maybe we have been going about this all wrong. And again, that's just James Mangold's perfect brain when it comes to characters and understanding what makes characters tick. You know what else ticks? Clocks. Now this thing clocks in at like, what, 2.5 hours?
So long.
2 hours,
and
10
I wasn't
minutes?
even there.
Yeah, it's the longest Indiana Jones movie by far, but every single second flies on by. Whether we have character moments, whether we have action beats, or whatever. It's handled very well. It's paced very well. I touched on it briefly, but one of the other highlights of this movie is, in fact, the action. You know, we open up with that World War II scene, and just when you think you've seen everything that you can with train scenes and World War II scenes, we get creative. You know, we're getting creative with putting Indy in these very sticky, terrible life and death situations where there's no way he's going to get out of that. And then we literally drop a bomb on him, and it's wonderful. It's a great scene. It's very playful. Well, and yeah, I mean, you know, you're 10 minutes into a 2.5-hour movie. The main character is not going to die. But at the same time, you feel those stakes. You feel like, oh, okay, well, this is a bad situation that he's in. And you get that throughout the rest of the movie. You know, there are some highlights that they've kind of teased a little bit in the trailers here or there. We have an incredible, and I mean incredibly tense chase scene that happens about, maybe a little bit before the halfway point, maybe a little bit after the halfway point. But it's tense, it's very well shot, it's very fast paced, it's very kinetic, it's crazy. You know, James Mangold, he took that style for that he had with Ford versus Ferrari, where he's got the camera low. You know, he doesn't have a lot of aerial shots or anything like that. He's keeping the camera low. We are eye level with them. We are close up as the action's going all over the place. We got people swapping back and forth between vehicles, changing positions in the vehicles, you know, reaching across.
So it was exciting.
It was thrilling. It was riveting. And you know, I saw this in IMAX, and there's no expanded aspect ratio or anything like that. Of course, you don't have Dolby, you know, shaking seats or anything like that. But I wanted the spectacle. You know, IMAX delivers a spectacle with those big speakers, and these action scenes thrived on that. It was incredible. You really feel like you're in the action, and it's great. We do have some wonderful action beats. The movie doesn't take too long between them, but one thing I appreciate about this, and I mentioned this in a review we did earlier in the year with something like John Wick, the Indiana Jones franchise with these action scenes and sequences and chase scenes has always excelled in making the action progress the story.
How's the acting?
Glad that you asked. The acting here is great. You know what I mean? Some of the acting in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you know, the last Indiana Jones movie, may have been a little stiff. Some of the writing was a little wonky. Some of the one-liners were a little too cheesy and over the top. That was Spielberg with some co-writing by Lucas and all and things like that. Co-story, I should say. But, you know, here the acting is great. You know, I mean, Harrison Ford really excels as Indiana Jones this time, because again, you know, this isn't Indiana Jones that is older. Yes, they point that out, and I've seen some complaints online already, like, oh, all they do is just make fun of him for being old the whole time. You know, I would have agreed with you. You know, be like, yeah, okay, we get it. You know, our hero is old. Oh, let's just make old man jokes.
It's an easy one, you know?
It's an easy one, but here's the thing. That would really only matter if he responds to it. And he doesn't. He never stops and says, oh, I'm not, you know, I still got it in me. No, he keeps pushing on. Then he gives us a reason for that. There is one particular moment, very minor spoilers, takes place on a boat between two characters. Oh, of course, one of them is Indiana Jones. And the acting and the emotion that comes through and the facial expressions and everything like that through Harrison Ford, it is one of the best moments in the Indiana Jones franchise, hands down. And it's wonderful, comes out of nowhere, it's completely unexpected, you have no idea what's going to come next, and they nailed it.
Sounds boring.
Not in the slightest. Acting throughout the board is pretty solid and pretty great. Phoebe Waller-Bridge plays a wonderful goddaughter to Indiana Jones. That's not a spoiler, they say it in the trailer anyway. What is an Indiana Jones movie without a bad guy? And who plays one of the best versions of bad guys in the world right now?
Ford.
Nope. Mads Mikkelsen, who is our evil resident Nazi here.
Mads. Who's Mads Mikkelsen?
You've seen him before. He plays a wonderful, fantastic Nazi. You know, of course, they tease that in the trailer and everything of the sorts. But, again, because we're not going to delve into spoilers because it's best experienced fresh, they have hid his motive exceptionally well in the trailer. They teased it.
I bet you if I watched the movie, I could figure out
But they have hid it exceptionally well. And he plays a great bad guy. He's got personality. He's got jokes. He's wonderful. He's a wonderful, wonderful bad guy. You know, and then the rest of the cast is filled out with supporting characters that pop up here and there, and they're great. You know, nobody ever feels out of place. Nobody ever feels like they're slouching behind everybody else. The acting in this movie is very solid, of course, backed up by very solid writing. And by the time that the credits rolled, I knew 100% that there wasn't anything after the credits. That was already a guarantee. I knew that this was the finale. I knew that this was going to be it. I sat there through the entire credits. I let the music and everything just kind of let itself sink in. You know, and typically this is where I say something witty or sarcastic, like, oh, you know, go ahead and book tickets for the next showtime.
You have nothing.
I'm going to let this one sit.
Okay.
I'm going to let it stew. I'm going to let it sit in my Indiana Jones shirt. Thank you, Amazon. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is out currently. If you have a chance to see it in IMAX, I recommend IMAX. Of course, Dolby is a wonderful option as well. Just go see it if at all humanly possible. It's a wonderful movie, especially if you're an Indiana Jones fan, or maybe you won't like it. I don't know.
I won't.
But at the same time, I feel like this movie was made for me. As a huge Indiana Jones fan, I feel like this was tailored to everything I've ever wanted.
I actually was in the meeting room when they were trying to figure out what audience, and they said, no, not an audience, it's a person.
Just Mr. Taco.
Come on now.
And then they said, who's Mr. Taco? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is in theaters now. If you had a chance to see it, of course, let us know down in the comments below how you felt about the movie. If you loved it, right there with you. If you hated it,
cool.
There's the door. And until next time, guys, this has been VHS Tacos signing off. Insert witty comment here. Adios.
Bye.